In the high Himalayas, where the air is thin and the peaks pierce the sky, history lingers, frozen in time like the glacial ice. In 1962, India and China, two ancient civilizations, each with a rich and complex history, clashed in a brief but transformative war that redrew the map of their relationship. The conflict was short, but its impact was profound. The snow-covered peaks, once natural barriers offering a sense of security, became a scarred and disputed border, a line etched in blood and mistrust. The war shattered India's post-colonial optimism, its vision of peaceful coexistence, and left a legacy of deep-seated mistrust that continues to shape its foreign policy. China turned inward, focusing on internal development, later emerging as an economic powerhouse, a global manufacturing hub. India, meanwhile, embraced democracy and non-alignment, charting its own course on the world stage, advocating for a multipolar world. The border remained tense, a constant source of friction, but open conflict was avoided through diplomacy and dialogue. Instead, a quiet rivalry took root, one of influence, economics and strategy playing out on the global stage. China's cities soared, symbols of its economic might. India's tech sector blossomed, driving innovation and growth. Both nations grew, transforming the global landscape, but suspicion endured, a shadow cast by the past. For India, 1962 was a harsh lesson. Geography alone offers no security, and vigilance is paramount. The defeat spurred military modernization, a renewed focus on defense capabilities, and a new foreign policy outlook, one of strategic autonomy. For China, victory reinforced its regional dominance, solidifying its position as a major player in Asia. The psychological chasm between the two nations deepened, shaping every move on Asia's chessboard, influencing regional alliances and global power dynamics. The echoes of that distant war still reverberate in Beijing and New Delhi, influencing policy decisions and shaping national narratives. The border remains a constant reminder of an unresolved past, a symbol of the complex and often fraught relationship between these two giants. The rivalry, once silent, now shapes the destiny of a third of humanity, impacting global trade, security, and the future of the international order. A new chapter began, marked by ambition and global reach, with China's Belt and Road Initiative. This initiative signaled a shift in global dynamics, a bold move onto the world stage. It envisioned a modern Silk Road of roads, arteries of commerce and connections stretching across continents. These weren't just pathways for trade, they were symbols of a new era. Railways and ports became the cornerstones, connecting China to the world through a network of infrastructure projects. These projects promised efficiency and growth, reshaping global trade routes. On the surface, it promises prosperity, a shared future of economic growth and development for all involved nations. The narrative was compelling, a win-win scenario for all participants. Beneath, it's a web of influence, a carefully constructed network with China strategically positioned at the center. The initiative served as a conduit for extending its economic and political sway. For India, the BRI feels less like opportunity and more like a complex geopolitical challenge, viewed with a mixture of apprehension and strategic calculation, and more like encirclement, a strategic maneuver that could potentially isolate India within its own region. The implications were far-reaching and demanded careful consideration. Projects like the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPEC, became a focal point of concern, raising questions about regional security and stability, running through disputed territory, directly challenging India's claims and sovereignty over the region. This added a layer of complexity to an already tense relationship. These are not just commercial ventures, simple infrastructure projects designed for economic benefit. They're strategic assets, potentially dual use in conflict, capable of serving both economic and military purposes. This ambiguity raised concerns about China's long-term intentions. China's loans create economic dependencies, binding nations to Beijing through financial obligations and potentially limiting their autonomy, sometimes leading to what's called debt trap diplomacy, a situation where countries become so indebted that they're forced to make political or economic concessions. Struggling nations may cede control of key assets, including ports and infrastructure, as collateral for these debts, giving China a foothold near India's borders, expanding its strategic reach and influence in the region. The BRI is more than economics, it's a multifaceted strategy, with implications that extend far beyond trade and investment. It's geopolitics by other means, a projection of power and influence through infrastructure development and economic engagement. Each new port and road, each completed project, represents a step forward in this grand strategy. Is a move in a patient game of chess, a calculated maneuver designed to achieve long-term strategic objectives, redrawing South Asia's strategic map, reshaping the geopolitical landscape and altering the balance of power. India watches as its neighbors are drawn into China's orbit, navigating the complexities of regional dynamics and shifting alliances. The challenge is immense, requiring a nuanced understanding of the region and a proactive approach to safeguarding its interests. Navigate a region being re-engineered by its greatest rival, a task that demands strategic foresight and unwavering resolve. The Dragon's new road is a path India must tread with caution, carefully considering each step and its potential consequences. The stakes are nothing less than the balance of power in Asia, the future of regional stability, and India's own strategic autonomy. The Himalayas, once a natural barrier, are now a tense frontier. China has built roads, airfields, and outposts along the disputed border, enabling rapid military deployment. This infrastructure build-up puts constant pressure on India, highlighting the military imbalance. Skirmishes and standoffs are now common, with patrols clashing in high-altitude valleys. In 2020, violence erupted in Galwan Valley. Soldiers died and the world took notice. The incident shattered illusions of lasting peace and showed China's willingness to use force. India responded by rushing troops and equipment to the mountains, racing to match China's build-up. The border is now heavily militarized, a landscape of bunkers and patrols. Soldiers battle not just each other, but the harsh elements. The great mountains, once symbols of peace, now embody a dangerous rivalry. The frontier has shifted from maps to the minds of those who guard it. Beyond the mountains, a new contest unfolds on the Indian Ocean. China, once land-focused, is now a rising maritime power, pursuing the String of Pearls, a network of ports and bases from the South China Sea to Africa. Gwadar in Pakistan, Hambantota in Sri Lanka, and a military base in Djibouti form a chain of strategic outposts. These are not just commercial projects, they support China's growing navy. Chinese warships and submarines now patrol the Indian Ocean, challenging India's traditional dominance. The ocean, once India's moat, is now a potential battleground. China's naval expansion signals global ambition and secures vital trade routes. The String of Pearls enables China's navy to operate far from home. For India, the dragon is no longer just at the gates. It's in the surrounding seas. The maritime rivalry is now as real as the one in the mountains. In South Asia's complex web of geopolitical relationships, alliances truly matter. They dictate trade, security, and the overall balance of power in this vital region. Understanding these alliances is key to understanding the future of the continent. China's partnership with Pakistan is remarkably deep, a bond forged through shared strategic interests and mutual economic benefits. This partnership extends to the provision of military hardware, the construction of vital economic corridors, and a commitment to long-term collaboration. It's also fueled by a shared rivalry with India, a constant undercurrent in their relationship. This rivalry shapes much of their foreign policy. The China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPE, physically and economically binds the two nations together, solidifying their alliance. This creates a significant two-front strategic challenge for India, forcing it to consider its defense and economic strategies carefully. Meanwhile, in Nepal, China's influence is steadily growing, primarily through substantial investment in infrastructure projects. These investments encompass roads, modern airport construction, advanced road building initiatives, and the installation of telecommunications towers, modernizing the country. This infrastructure development is strategically designed to reduce Nepal's long-standing economic reliance on India. Furthermore, Beijing's active political outreach encourages a more assertive stance from Kathmandu on the international stage. This stance is sometimes explicitly anti-Indian, reflecting a shift in Nepal's foreign policy priorities and public sentiment. By strategically becoming indispensable to its neighbors through economic and political means, China gains significant leverage in the region. This allows China to shape their choices, influence their policies, and ultimately align them more closely with Beijing's broader strategic interests. For For Pakistan, China serves as a powerful patron, providing crucial economic aid and military cooperation. And for Nepal, China offers a compelling alternative to India's traditional sphere of influence, opening new diplomatic avenues. India's deep cultural ties and long-standing historical relationships with its neighbors are now being significantly challenged by China's rapidly expanding economic power and strategic infrastructure investments. The traditionally open border with Nepal, once a symbol of close ties, is now increasingly shadowed by these new and evolving geopolitical realities, requiring careful management and strategic foresight. China is actively building multifaceted relationships, extending beyond mere infrastructure projects to encompass diplomatic and people-to-people connections. This comprehensive approach is reorienting the entire region, gradually shifting its center of gravity toward Beijing. Consequently, India finds itself in an increasingly isolated position, facing significant diplomatic and strategic challenges. This is happening right in its own neighborhood, a region it has historically considered to be within its sphere of influence. The political geography of South Asia is undergoing a profound transformation with long-term implications for regional stability and global power dynamics. China's reach extends to Sri Lanka and Myanmar. In Sri Lanka, the Hambantota port, built with Chinese loans, was handed over to China on a 99-year lease after debt default, giving Beijing a key maritime foothold near India. In Myanmar, China is building the China-Myanmar Economic Corridor, including a deep-sea port at Kyaukphyu, connecting Yunnan to the Bay of Bengal. These projects give China alternative routes to the Indian Ocean, bypassing choke points and deepening its strategic web. China offers economic incentives and diplomatic support, often backing regimes criticized by the West. This approach wins friends and influence, especially among governments wary of outside interference. For India, the Bay of Bengal is no longer a secure backyard. China's arc of presence now encircles the Indian peninsula. The Indian elephant is stirring. India is modernizing its military, fast-tracking advanced weapons and building a domestic defense industry. On the border, it's racing to match China's infrastructure, roads, tunnels and airfields in the Himalayas. Projects like the Atal Tunnel speed up troop movement, signaling India's resolve to defend its territory. India is also re-energizing its foreign policy, offering development aid and investment to neighbors as an alternative to China. It leverages cultural ties and soft power, education, healthcare, and expertise to build goodwill. Economically, India is reducing dependence on China, promoting domestic manufacturing and attracting global investment. The process is challenging but vital for strategic autonomy. India's approach is quieter than China's, but aims for genuine long-term partnerships. The elephant is now awake, moving with purpose. India is determined to chart its own course in a changing Asia. The contest is far from over. Seeking balance, India has embraced new partnerships, most notably the Quad. The quadrilateral security dialogue brings together the US, Japan, Australia, and India. Revived by shared concerns over China's assertiveness, the Quad champions a free, open Indo-Pacific. It's not a formal alliance, but joint naval exercises like Malabar send a clear signal of resolve. For India, joining the Quad marks a shift from non-alignment to strategic partnership. India recognizes it cannot face China alone. It needs partners with shared interests. The Quad gives India a platform to shape the region's future and counterbalance China. China views the Quad with suspicion, calling it an Asian NATO. The Quad's emergence has transformed Asia's geopolitical landscape. Two visions for the region now compete for dominance. The Great Game has new, powerful players. Asia stands at a crossroads. The China-India rivalry is the central drama of the 21st century. South Asia's stability is now a global concern, with ripple effects on security and supply chains. The future is unwritten, a delicate dance between confrontation and cooperation. Choices in Beijing and New Delhi will shape the path ahead. The world watches as these giants navigate rivalry and interdependence. The stakes, peace and prosperity for the Indo-Pacific, or instability and conflict. A stable South Asia could drive global growth. Conflict would threaten the world order. The world has a vested interest in peaceful competition and open communication. The elephant and the dragon are locked in a complex embrace. The outcome will shape the world for generations to come.